Welcome everyone. Today I am going to be ranking all of the Pixar films up to Inside Out 2. Pixar definitely has a reputation of quality films. There's a very good reason for that. The earlier films especially. There is no need to worry though. You will not hear any toxic positivity from me with any of Pixar's newer films. I think they dropped off pretty hard, and it's pretty interesting because there's an exact movie people like to point to of when the quality deteriorated, and I think I would have to agree. But let's jump right into it. I have S tier, A tier, B tier. B tier is going to be my average because I'm pretty sure this is just a grading scale, and S tier is just for superior. So S tier is going to be my one of the best films of all time category. So it has to be an amazing movie to get into S tier. A tier, great. B, average. C, below average. D, pretty bad. F, that is a please don't watch category. I'm gonna change that. So we've got a please don't watch category, and then a haven't seen category. First up, we've got Toy Story. Toy Story, very great film. The animation holds up pretty well for the toys. The people, they look pretty cringe. This movie's story is very, very well done. The characters, very nice. I love every decision in this film. People don't like Woody because he's a narcissist. You know what? You are correct. That is a correct observation. And so is Buzz a little bit. I really like the character work that they do with both Woody and Buzz in this film. Next up, we've got A Bug's Life. I really, really like A Bug's Life, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to put it in B tier, just in the average film category. It doesn't rise to too many heights, although I think the villain in this film is actually very much underrated. A Bug's Life's villain, Hopper, he has some great lines. The comedy that he and his brother get into, fantastic. But I'm afraid overall it just goes in B tier. Toy Story 2. It's going to be one of the best films of all time. I'm putting it in S tier. Toy Story 2 is the best sequel Pixar has. It is fantastic. It is better than the first one. It improves on the world. It improves on the characters of both Woody and Buzz, and giving us the Roundup Gang, which I really, really like Jesse, but I particularly like Stinky Pete. I think him being a twist villain was one of the best. It probably is. It probably is the best twist villain in any Pixar film. Next, we've got Monsters Inc. People love Monsters Inc. I'm just gonna put it in good, in A tier. I really do like the theme to this film. I really like the message of this film. The comedy, the comedy is top tier. It's one of the funniest Pixar films of all time. But I don't see why so many people would put it in S tier. I don't see why so many people would think it's the greatest of Pixar's. It's really not. It just doesn't rise to the heights of these other films that I'm going to be putting in S tier. We've got Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo does belong in S tier. I love the themes of this film. The fishing scene at the end of Finding Nemo can bring tears to your eyes every time. It is perfection. I love it so much. There are a few parts in the movie where I think the movie drags its feet a little bit, particularly with the sharks. But, I think the comedy is really well done. I think if that's what they're going for in these scenes, I think it's really well done. Finding Nemo is Pixar's very first Best Picture, or animated Best Picture, because Monsters, Inc. couldn't beat Shrek, which I think Monsters, Inc. probably should have beat Shrek, but Finding Nemo definitely deserved the Oscar. It is absolutely fantastic. And obviously Pixar wins a ton of awards, because The Incredibles also won the next year for Best Animated Picture, and The Incredibles, oh man, you cannot get much better than The Incredibles. It is the best superhero film. People might think The Dark Knight or The Avengers or Infinity War, these are the best films. Nope.
I disagree strongly.
It is The Incredibles. That is the best superhero film. Nothing else has risen to its heights. I love the character work for every single one of The Incredibles. The themes of this film are powerful. They're for adults. I love it. It's so dark, too. Oh my goodness. As a kid, I kept thinking, man, this film has some really intense moments in it, and it does. I love it. The animation is fantastic. The style is fantastic. Oh, cannot get enough of The Incredibles. I can watch it over and over again. I can never get tired of it. Cars! I remember when I was told that people don't like Cars. Okay, I thought it was just Cars 2 everyone hated. No, it turns out people don't really like the Cars franchise. I'm putting Cars in A tier. I think it is very good. It is one of my favorite Pixar films, but you won't get any bias from me. I'm not putting it in S tier. I just think, objectively, it is a very good film. Yes, the world building has a lot of flaws, but so does Toy Story, and so does everyone's favorite Inside Out. Okay, Cars has a lot of problems, but the themes and messages of the first film I really, really enjoy. Cars is the first film I remember seeing in theaters. I remember being so confused when lightning slams on his brakes. What are you freaking doing? But now, as an adult, I can think back and realize, you know what? Him showing everyone that he knows what's important in life. That is a really powerful moment. And I think it did have an influence on me as a kid. Being super competitive and wanting to win everything, I probably would have chosen to win the race and then come back. But choosing to stop and lose the race on purpose just to demonstrate that what he's learned, I think is really, really well done. I also love McQueen and Mater's relationship in the film. I think it's done very well. Ratatouille, Ratatouille is going in S tier. It is the gold standard I point to for how people should look in 3D animated films. I don't really like the style Pixar's been going with for these most recent Pixar films for the human characters, but when I look to Ratatouille, or even The Incredibles, the styles for these characters are fantastic. Why can't we get more of this? We had it. It was so good. Why have we gone backwards in this ugly cartoon style? I want this stylized. I want Ratatouille people in all of my films. It looks fantastic. Also, Ratatouille has the best soundtrack of any film. Maybe the Lord of the Rings trilogy would rival it, or Star Wars or something, the Star Wars trilogy. But on an individual movie level, Ratatouille takes the cake. Alright, next up we've got WALL-E. I'm going to put WALL-E in B tier. And people can get very, very upset. WALL-E falls prey to, I would say, the Up problem, where it has a very, very great opening scene, or at least opening section of the film. I think everything is perfection until they get on the ship with the humans. As soon as they introduce humans into the WALL-E story, everything kind of goes down the toilet. I am not a huge fan of everything the humans do in this film. But everything to do with WALL-E, everything to do with the robots, great. Keep them the focus. I don't want the humans to come back to Earth and plant pizzas, because they're just gonna die. I really don't like most of the things to do with humans. The WALL-E, the opening scene, one of the best openings of all time. One of the best opening parts of the film of all time. And then Up. Up is overhyped to oblivion. But I'm gonna put it in A tier because I think it is good. I think it's fine. There are a few parts of the film where it drags on, a very few unnecessary scenes. The comedy isn't quite as high level as like Monsters Inc. or Ratatouille, The Incredibles, or something like that. But it works. I do like the message and themes of the film. The emotional climax is very well done. The final fight's a little hokey, but I think the themes of it are very well done, and I do like the ending. It's a very sad movie, especially the beginning, and like I said, the beginning of Up, glorious. One of the best openings of all time. The music in Up is fantastic. The whole film on a whole just doesn't rise to the heights as the opening did. It kind of lets you down. Toy Story 3! I'm really tempted to put it in S tier, but I think it belongs in A tier. I don't think it rises quite to the level of best films of all time, but it is fantastic. It's my favorite film in the A tier category. It's Toy Story 3. Man, it makes me cry almost every time, and I know that's an emotional response, but I think the themes, the message of the film, the whole coming of age and letting go of childish things, it hits very hard when the focus of the film hasn't been on Andy, it's been on the toys. But when the focus is put on Andy at the end of the film, man, it hits hard. It hits hard. All of your own emotional like attachment to your childhood. Oh, it's very manipulative and it works very well, and I like it. So it gets an A tier. Cars 2, everyone knows where Cars 2 is going. It's going in the C tier. Because, yes, it is bad. Okay, I will admit, Cars 2 is not a good film. But by golly, it is not near as bad as people say it is. This film is hilarious, not just because it's hilariously bad, because the comedy is actually very good. People like to harp on the villain and say the villain's plan sucks. I completely disagree. It's funny because I actually take a lot of offense to the villain in Incredibles 2, which we'll get to later, and people say the plans are very similar. I completely disagree. I think Axelrod's plan in Cars 2 actually pretty clever, and I understand why he's doing it. It makes sense. I'm gonna have to stop talking because I can defend Cars 2. I may or may not be working on a very long-form review of Cars 2 in order to defend it because it is not near as bad as people say it is. Brave is really bad. I'm gonna put it in D tier. It's not in the please don't watch category, but it's pretty bad. Very boring. It takes itself seriously when it probably shouldn't. It probably should have a little more comedy in it. But I say that, but then I didn't even like a lot of the comedy with the brothers. I guess one good thing I'll say about Brave is the plot doesn't break itself. The plot doesn't fall apart under scrutiny. It's just the comedy is very bad, the story is not necessarily compelling, and the emotional beats don't hit very hard. It is a bad film, but at least it's not atrocious. It's not a please don't watch film. It's just a bad Pixar film. Monsters University, I used to say it's pretty bad because I thought it portrayed a lot of things in the Monsters Inc., which now that I look back on it, I'm going to put it in B tier. I've actually grown to really appreciate the themes of this film and what it says about what you can and can't do and about what your aspirations in life should be when you find out you can't do what you want to do. I really appreciate the things that it's trying to say. A lot of the comedy is absolutely hilarious.
After you lose, no one will remember you.
Maybe, but when you lose, no one will let you forget it.
Oh! Boy, that is a good point!
So I'm putting it up to B tier because I actually think there are parts of this film that work very, very well, even if a lot of the film kind of falls flat. Inside Out, everyone loves Inside Out. I'm putting it in C tier because I do not think it's that good. A few of the emotional beats are about as good as it's going to get. The characters, very stupid. Joy is an absolute moron throughout the entire film. Most of the plot doesn't need to happen. They can just come back to headquarters whenever they want. But because Joy is an idiot and thinks she has to wake Riley up and give her, like, seizures in the night, they have to wake her. Oh, gosh. It's just so many problems with this film. Sadness is an absolute moron as well. Super narcissistic and absolutely damaging Riley several times. So it is going in C tier. Everyone hates me because it won Best Picture and everyone loves it, but it goes in C tier. The Good Dinosaur is our very first please don't watch film. It hurts my brain to think about this film. Getting high on rotten apples or fruit. Oh my gosh. I do not like this film. It is going in please don't watch. I try to forget this film. The comedy is bad. I don't think I laughed once in this film. Maybe once when the pterodactyl ate the other animal, but oh gosh, it's really not good. Finding Dory. It is going in the please don't watch category as well. I really do not like Finding Dory. It might just go in D tier because of how bad it is, but I'm putting it in please don't watch because of how good the first film is, and it really, really messes up some of the things in the first film. I don't think Marlon would ever put Nemo in jeopardy multiple times, and Marlon does test some absolutely stupid stuff in this film. So does Dory, but I mean, she's retarded, so that's okay. Yeah, not a huge fan of Finding Dory. I actually just rewatched it not too long ago, and it's pretty bad. Cars 3. People think Cars 3 is the best out of the franchise. I'm gonna have to say it's the worst out of the franchise. I'm gonna put it in C. I'm gonna keep it in C tier though. I don't, man. I think it might have one of the dumbest things in any Pixar film, where McQueen's racing and they decide, oh, we can just paint a number 53 on a different car and have her finish the race. Man, if that's not one of the dumbest decisions, one of the very worst plot decisions in any Pixar film, I don't know what else would take the cake. It is pretty doggone bad. It is pretty doggone bad. Coco. It is a beacon of light amongst all these bad films. It is going up here in A tier. I think Coco is very well done. I really love the themes in Coco. I like the music in Coco. I like the importance on family in Coco. It is good. It is getting a proper sit in A tier. And now that I look at this, A tier is pretty full. Pixar's doing pretty good. Yeah, they've had some bad films down here. Okay, but they've got a lot of good films. Okay, now for the onslaught of absolute garbage. We've got Incredibles 2, which is going in the Please Don't Watch. And if I had a Please Don't Watch, under no circumstances watch this film, it would be Incredibles 2. I wish I could scrub it from my brain. I dislike every character decision they have for every character. It is atrocious. I should probably do a review of Incredibles 2 just to knock on it. I have a video just making fun of it, but people like it for some reason, so I should probably do a review and go into a deep dive of why it's so bad. I will. I'll go into a deep dive of the villain right here. The villain of Incredibles 2 has one of the worst motivations of all time, and then one of the worst plans. So let's go to the motivation. Her motivation is that she wants superheroes to be illegal for forever. She wants them to stay illegal so they will not be able to crime fight, okay? But why is that the case? It's because her father was really good friends with two superheroes. And then they became illegal. There was a break-in in the house, and her father called for superheroes, and they didn't show up because it was illegal for them to crime fight. They didn't even answer the phones. And then her parents died. Why would that motivate you to keep superheroes illegal? If they would have showed up, if they were legal, wouldn't that motivate you to rely on them? To have them stay around? To have it be okay for superheroes to come and save you? The whole idea is we shouldn't want to rely on superheroes. Okay, if you take that position, I do not understand why that motivates you to kill innocent people. It doesn't. She's going to commit a terrorist attack on innocent people. She's going to take these world leaders and murder them. She's going to fling the world into chaos because she wants superheroes to become illegal. Here's a bright idea for you. Why not just lobby for keeping superheroes illegal? Why do you have to make them become legal and then mind control them to becoming illegal again? Gosh, you could have just skipped that whole section. Just have Elastigirl commit terrorist attacks by herself. You don't need to have her do good things and then trick her into doing bad things. Oh my goodness. Very upsetting. I don't like Bob and Helen's relationships or the struggles they deal with in Incredibles 2, but that'll have to be a subject to a different time. It's hurting my brain. Toy Story 4 is the only Pixar film I haven't seen. And I refuse to see it because I love the Toy Story trilogy so much. I've seen scenes, and I've seen the goodbye scene, and it makes me mad every time I see it. How little they say to each other, how absolute meaningless it is. It makes me very upset. So it is going in. I haven't seen. It is the only Pixar film I haven't seen, and I probably won't watch Toy Story 5. It will probably be another one I will refuse to watch. It will take nothing short of a lot of money. I will have to become a very prominent YouTuber and make a lot of money for me to watch Toy Story 4. Otherwise, I'm just going to skip out on it. I have no problem dying without watching Toy Story 4. Next up was Onward. Onward, I liked the first time I watched it because I liked the emotional beats of the film. I liked the brothers' relationship. But now I'm going to have to put it in C tier. I think it falls apart in a lot of areas. I think the world building is pretty bad. But the reason it's up at C tier is because I do think the emotional beats of this film do land. So I'm putting it up there in C tier, even if the world building and plot is pretty bad, pretty atrocious, and the comedy is not very good at times. So, but it's going in C tier because it is not near as bad as it could have been. Soul is going in D tier. I am not a fan of Soul at all. I don't like the style, don't like the way it looks. The pacing is really odd, and the theme of this film is just don't commit suicide, which, I'll be honest, not a bad theme. No one should commit suicide. I agree with that. But the film doesn't give any reason to. At the very end of the film, the last line of the film is, what are you going to do with your life? I don't know. I'm going to live it. What does that mean? You haven't given us meaning to that line. This character doesn't... The character's motivation for not dying is, oh, I don't want to die. And that is the motivation. I really need more to this film. I need more to this character and his reason for living. Luca. I don't think Luca's that bad. I'm putting it in C tier. I really like... That's the thing. I really like the emotional beats of a lot of these films. But by golly, the plot of these films just keep falling apart. Luca's parents are just absolutely, like, cursed to this film. Every scene that they're in is horrible. Their decisions don't make any sense. The water aspect of, oh, they turn into the monsters when the water hits them, it's a little inconsistent with how wet they can be and all that. I don't take that much issue with it. It's more so the plot on the whole of the parents ruining the lives, and it's C tier. I like Luca. I would recommend watching it, giving it a watch, but it's got some pretty big issues in Luca. Next is Turning Red. Turning Red, D tier. It's pretty bad. It's not funny. There was a time in the film about halfway through, I'm like, okay, I really don't like the style, I don't like the comedy, I don't like a lot of things about this film, but at least I was thinking there could be emotional beats I enjoy. I could appreciate what the film is saying about a coming-of-age story, about the relationship this character has with her parents, and then at the end, they just couldn't land it. They just couldn't give you anything meaningful. And so it's going all the way in D tier because it's pretty bad. It's really not good. Next up is Lightyear. And Lightyear is going in the please don't watch category because it is so bad. Oh man, the comedy is all flashing through my head right now. Taika Waititi's character is so unfunny. It's painful. It's painful to think about. The plot is also atrocious. The time travel doesn't make any sense. I don't like how they turned Buzz Lightyear into the villain of the film. Oh, I guess spoilers, but gosh. Like, it's at one point, yeah, it's spoilers. People want to watch the film. Another point, I also think it's just warning people, like, hey, don't get into that car. It will kill you. It'll explode when you turn the key, so just don't get in there. That is what I'm saying here. Lightyear is so bad. People need to be warned about what is in the film so they don't watch it. That is how bad it is. Next up, we have Elemental, which is going in C tier. It is just not good. It is not a good film. It is, it's got a lot of plot issues too. Wade dies and then comes back to life because of water vapor. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense how they're able to touch each other and make out and never. Oh my gosh, it is not a good romance film. Pixar used to have a good rule of staying away from romance. Gosh, it's just not good. It's not good at all. It looks good, I guess. It looks fine. But the world building and the plot, not good at all. And obviously the core of the movie is the romance aspect, and that just fails. So it is going in C tier. Next, we've got Inside Out 2. And Inside Out 2, I'm going to put in A tier. It definitely deserves Best Animated Film this year. Inside Out 2 gets A tier because I really, really like a lot of themes of this film. Inside Out 2 is much better than the first Inside Out. It has a lot of world-building issues, and so that's what's holding it back from being an S tier. There are a lot of plot issues too. I'm putting it in B tier because there are a lot of plot issues. But I really, really think the themes of this film are very strong. I really appreciate what it's saying about anxiety, how it deals with other emotions, how it manipulates you. But I really, really enjoy how Riley actually is able to control her own actions in this film. In the first film, she's just an automaton who does what her emotions say, which I understand being a young child, being led by your emotions. But I enjoy in Inside Out 2, she is not controlled by her emotions. There are times in this film where Riley has to overcome her emotions and has to do things by herself. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate what the film is saying with anxiety. I very much recommend you watching it. People are going to be really frustrated with Wall-E down here. Let me know what you guys think. What's the most hottest take in this? Is it the Wall-E? Is it the Wall-E category? Or is it the Inside Out? People always think Inside Out is fantastic. Or is it Cars 2? Because everyone says Cars 2 is the worst Pixar film, which is wrong. It is not the worst Pixar film. If I had to pick the worst Pixar film, it'd probably be Incredibles 2. I think it is the most wasted potential I've ever seen in a film. It is the worst sequel I've ever seen. It is atrocious. It is atrocious. So Inside Out 2, really good. Incredibles 2, really bad. Cars 2, way better than people think it is. If you guys want to see my review for Inside Out 2, click right here. I think it is a very, very interesting watch, and if you haven't seen the film, you should definitely watch it first. I would very much recommend Inside Out 2. I would recommend everything from B tier and up. You should give it a watch. And Cars 2, because Cars 2 is fun. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see all of you subscribers later.